All right, Mom, let's get this started. Have you been watching
Yeah,
the Olympics? Because Grandma called me today and she asked me if I was watching the Olympics. I was like, Graham,
no,
no one's watching the Olympics.
we're boycotting it here.
Now, why is that? Because this might lead
Dad
right
is
into.
Dad is not, but no, I wasn't really into it to begin with. I'll be honest. I wasn't dying to see it. I
Yeah, I
lost
couldn't kill us.
Olympics lost favor with me with the whole professional thing, and um the whole moods changed. And we're talking about the. Here's my thing too. Okay, I mean we got the amateurs, professionals. I get it. All that's gone by the
Hold on,
wayside
can I
now.
pause you, Mom? I just realized there's a ray of light over your face and I don't know what it is. Can you lower your camera? Because I think I'm getting the.
Because I'm a saint,
I knew you were going
Christopher.
to say something like
That usually
that.
happens.
See,
Uh
now
oh, I lost you.
you lost me?
Yeah, the
Oh,
printer
God.
thing. It's okay. No, I didn't lose you.
Mom,
I have
stop
a.
panicking. How is it that we can't do this right every time? We've been doing this for 102 episodes. We can't fucking get it right.
It's good. We're fine.
Yeah, we're
It's
fine.
good.
We're fine.
No one needs to see me anyhow.
Yeah.
They just want to hear me blabble.
Yeah. But so I think most people aren't watching it because of the ceremony, but I thought you were going to hear. I'm sure Michael talked about it, but with the boxing situation.
No, yes, I saw the article and I did hear about that. But let me go back to what I was saying. Okay, so I'm old school with I got over the professionals and amateurs playing and all that stuff. Here's where I have an issue. If you're gonna compete, it has to be fair. Everybody stays in the Olympic Village, or you're not allowed to compete for a medal. Okay?
And
Half the
now we have the
people
fan on. Now I can't hear you because of the fan. Mom, we're 0 for
fan
2. We are 0 for
on.
2.
If you're going to compete for a medal, you have to live in the village. I don't care if you're LeBron James. I don't care if you're Simone Biles. I don't care if you're Cindy Hu from South Korea.
Well, we have to give some context here because I think a lot of people don't know, but the conditions at Paris are apparently not very good. But I think it was like this at the last Olympics too. Basically, everyone gets cardboard boxes, a thin mattress, and then that's their bunk, right? And to my mom's point, a lot of the NBA players who are worth millions and millions of dollars are going, let's just get a hotel. And that's nice and all, but yeah, it's not fair to the people that can't afford to go to a hotel and have to sleep on the box with the team. They're
With
getting
no
better
air
sleep.
conditioning
No,
and vegan food. I mean, they really royally screwed this up. And then for the IOC to say, you know what, you get options, which more people I doubt are staying there. Over time, more of them are professional athletes, or their country pays for it and they stay at a hotel.
right.
Yeah. That's a biased, a good night's sleep is a lot easier in an air conditioned hotel room with a nice hot shower versus the Olympic Village.
Right.
So I think it's really becoming overly commercialized, overly, um, the important thing is to have the people there that everybody already knows,
Yeah.
which is fine. They're great athletes. They're good at they're fabulous at what they do. There's very few underdogs.
Yeah.
You're not seeing underdog stories, which is why the ones that resonated with me was the Penn State kid on the pommel horse.
I didn't
Did you
even
see
see
that?
this. No.
So the men medaled. They got a bronze, USA. First time since, I think, 2008. They each had their own special apparatus, and the U.S. needed the last
Oh, I did see
event.
this. I didn't realize that was America. Yeah. I had to think of what a pommel horse was. Yeah. They
Yeah,
said apparently someone equated it to like he's the backup kicker on the team and he has to get the field goal and he nailed it.
he nailed it. And he's Penn Stater.
I didn't know that.
Mother yeah, he had the Penn State hat on. Well, he graduated from Penn State. He's not still there. But anyhow, those are the kind of underdog stories that you love to hear. That's the Olympics. Usually, you never knew any of the people unless they competed the year before. You never knew any of these people, and they would make a name for themselves at the Olympics because they were amateurs. Nobody knew them. Then I'm watching the men's basketball. These games are not blowaways. I think they eventually are, but they were playing Puerto Rico today. According to Mike, there's a lot of NBA talent on other teams now from other countries because they're
Yeah.
playing for their countries. I guess it makes it interesting, but to me, it's like, okay, the pros are playing. It's hard for me to root for them because I feel like they have so many advantages
Yeah.
over some
They
of these
get to play
obscure
a lot
teams.
more. They play harder competition. Yeah, it doesn't make sense that LeBron and those guys are playing basketball. And then they say, oh, it balances out by going to other teams. But what's also kind of I don't want to say. I feel like, to your point, you said something about the Olympics being more commercialized, and I feel like
Yeah.
it's kind of the same route as colleges here in America. It's, oh, our football team makes so much money. Let's put all of our eggs into this basket, and hopefully we'll make more money out of it with advertising, jerseys, whatnot. And I feel like the Olympics is kind of like that now. Countries only, countries
Always
only,
like that.
yeah. Well, countries
Always really
know.
like that. They always tried to sell stuff, and it's always about marketing the Olympics, not necessarily, a particular athlete.
Right.
But what I've been noticing more of, and maybe I wasn't paying a lot of attention at the last Olympics either, I've been noticing a lot more like, okay, it's one thing about Simone Biles. She does really well. We know she's a strong athlete. She's expected to get gold and everything, right? All of a sudden, I'm seeing these side things about, oh, she has a clothing line. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
Or, oh, here she is. They keep touting her with a husband, right? Talking about a fan.
He's an
I'm hearing,
NFL player, I believe.
yes. So it's just all of a sudden and then I was explaining to Mike, you always see the pictures of the volleyball players in their little bikini outfits, right? Now they're high. Oh, and the swimmers, the male swimmers, because it goes both ways. They're making such a big deal about the bodies on these male swimmers. Okay, they used to do that all the time. But now I'm seeing like professional photographs of these athletes, like it's a calendar in swimsuits and whatnot. See what I mean? Like now it's almost like they're going into the Olympics. Yeah, I'm gonna play this, but I'm gonna milk it. And it's a platform, not to get elevated because
Yeah.
you did well in your sport, but just as a platform, now I can hawk my other stuff.
Well, let's take it the other way in the sense of the ones that aren't professional athletes and are just coming out for their one sport for 4 years. I'd milk it too if it means that $1 million commercial like Phelps had. Remember, Michael Phelps, you never heard of Michael Phelps before the Olympics. So, I mean, it doesn't make sense for LeBron and those guys because they're making
Wait a
money
minute,
either way.
Michael Phelps won.
Yeah.
I'm talking about these volleyball players from other countries. They might win, I don't know, but they were doing this even before they were competing and before they got the gold. Like there's an agenda going into this. You never had
Oh,
that
I see what you're
before.
talking about. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Nobody knew Nadia Comaneci when she went in, unless you were
I
a
still don't know what
weirdo.
that is.
Well, who is she? I didn't see the scores for Simone Biles, and it was a different time. But Nadia was known because she scored perfect tens on every apparatus. She was
Wow.
like the first gymnast to ever score a perfect 10. She's married to an American, and she was on the boat with the Williams sister going into the Olympics. Having said that, you didn't know her. She was from Romania. We didn't know that was the Iron Curtain. We didn't know any of them. But boy, we knew her after she won the gold around the world. They even had a song. It's the theme song for The Young and the Restless, the
Really?
soap opera. That was Nadia Comaneci's song. So that's what I'm saying. It's not like they went in touting the girl from Romania in a bikini. She will be competing. You didn't have any of that in the past.
Interesting. Yeah, no, I guess
I can tell you one other gymnast from that time because they didn't win.
I think you're paying more attention to it than I am. Like I have not been watching anything, but I'll say this: I've been watching when I went over to your sister's. We watched the female U.S. soccer team. They're killing it right now. I didn't realize Dennis Rodman's daughter's on there. Did you know that?
She's
She's really pretty. I was like, oh my god. But
did she have the pink ponytail, pink braids?
she's got, so her hair is brown, but the braids are pink.
Yeah.
She's
We saw
killing
today.
it.
So I wasn't watching it. Dad had it on, and it was 0-0 in the second with Japan.
Yeah.
And Dad was like, "Oh my gosh, this game is going on and on." And U.S. won it with 1 goal. And I believe
She's
kicked
the
it.
one that scored it. Yeah, I saw that. I was like,
so
whoa,
sad that I didn't know
that's
she was
Dennis
Rodman's
Rodman's daughter.
Oh, how funny! Wow.
Yeah, to make the Olympic team is pretty dope for a girl whose father's a basketball player. Right, so
Yeah.
you can't say, "Oh, your dad helped you." It's not like he's teaching her soccer.
Yeah, not the same
That's
sport at all.
Yeah, but it just goes to show like there's a genetic disposition there. You know?
Yeah.
There's a genetic, hey, freak athlete. Say what
Well,
you
I
want
was
about
looking at
Dennis
the
Rodman.
article you sent about the boxing because we were talking about
Yeah,
that.
so this is the one that I thought you were going to bring up, basically, like right off the rip. And I think there's been a lot of, maybe today we'll do things backwards today. We'll do the non-political ones first, just for the people that skip to the end anyway.
I don't think it should be allowed.
I think eventually.
Well, I had an article about it too, right?
ahead.
Mocking our religion about the opening ceremony.
Yeah, that's a tough one because I was like,
Last time?
we kind of
Did
did,
we
yeah,
talk
with
about
the,
that?
yeah, we did.
So then I saw yours about the boxing, which I don't know. I don't agree with Mark Siegel about one thing. I see what he's saying. Instead of testing genders, because he feels like, oh, everyone should be allowed to identify and play whatever they want to. They should check hormones, right? Because now we have this situation with the boxing where technically they're female, but they have a Y chromosome and it's throwing their hormones, giving them extra
Right.
testosterone.
So I did a deep dive on this one because I was like, Twitter's going crazy. It must be someone who's transitioned. I did a deep dive because I had to get the answer, and I wasn't getting an answer from anyone. So this is where it's a little weird. So this person, I forget how you pronounce her name.
Yeah.
Let's see if I can.
Ima, come on.
Imane, I think. Imane. Again, sorry if I'm butchering your name. But
yeah.
Her and another boxer in China who's competing both have high levels of testosterone. So they keep failing the gender test. And people see that and they go, oh, she's failing it because she's not actually a woman. But in those countries, you're not allowed to transition. So here's what I think happened, just based on kind of a educated guess on a conglomeration of things. I think it's one of two things, right? As this guy says, it is possible to have the XY chromosome as a female, which is causing the hormone imbalance. But also you have that rare case of when people are born, because they go back and they check the birth certificates of the family and pictures and stuff like that. Yeah. I think this is one of those rare cases where she was born with both parts. And the parents made the decision at birth, hey, we're going to go with female, where you kind of take it's like it's hermaphrodite, right? I think when you're born that way. And the parents made the decision, we're going to stick with female. But that doesn't mean chemically she stays female. Because now you look at the pictures of her growing up and it's like, oh, this is a man who, I shouldn't say man, again, this is someone more masculine than feminine when you look at the growing up process, wearing certain clothes that women would not wear. So I think it's just a female that has insanely high testosterone, which we know from other sports, if you're taking testosterone, you're going to have an advantage. She does it naturally. So now it kind of goes to, we talked about this at the last Olympics, if you remember. Mm-hmm. The last Olympics, they were debating, do we start testing for testosterone levels? Because do you remember that female sprinter that had the deepest voice ever and was just dominating? She was way off the charts, but for a female. So I agree with the doctor in the sense of, maybe we have to start. I don't necessarily agree with the gender on a spectrum thing, but these are two very rare cases where you have two people that were born a certain way.
Okay, so that's kind of the point too. How prevalent is this condition? It's not. It's rare. Isn't it unusual or statistically, what are the odds that two people just decided, hey, I want to be female boxers in the Olympics with this rare condition?
Well, that's what, so.
They knew they had this advantage through strength, through testosterone.
Okay.
Obviously, they know they have this condition, okay? So, if anything, I will agree with Dr. Siegel in the sense that, you know what? I don't care if you're transgender. I really don't. I don't care if, don't tell me transphobic, whatever. But because of your situation hormonally, we'll say, okay? You have an unfair advantage. And you can't compete with another gender that doesn't have that advantage.
It is, yeah.
Same thing like the Olympic Village, okay? Same thing like, everybody needs to have not the same outcome, but the same set of rules and the same, you could train harder as a female, you could be a better boxer, you could be stronger and all those things. But it has to remain within the guidelines of the XY, testosterone, estrogen.
Yeah, you have to do some. It kind of goes to show that you're going to need a guideline that's not just male female, because you're going to have those outliers. Because this is what I think, I'm not disagreeing with you, but I think what ended up happening is these two people were born this way in their countries. Whatever sport they picked, they were going to dominate because of their testosterone levels, their natural testosterone levels. So they just picked one and got good at it.
Sure, because they knew they had an advantage over the other XX contenders.
Right.
They had an XY.
Right.
Okay. And it's a very rare thing. There will probably be more of those individuals. It's very possible there were people like that in the past, because that first article I was talking about, he reminds us all, the scandal used to be in the old days, the doping of the
Yeah.
East Germans, the Russians, or the communists rather, because they'd all take testosterone, the women, and they were all enormous and they looked
crushing.
like men. Well, and the East Germans were very bad about
Right.
it too. They were communists also. Bad in the sense that really you got to see some of the women swimmers. They look like
Right.
men. I think they were bigger than Michael Phelps. So there was always this debate about we got to test them. They're overdoing it. And here we are now saying, oh no, now you have to allow it because they identify a certain way. It's not about them being transgender. They're just using that as a reason. It's about what is fair and what isn't. So I will agree with Mark Siegel in the sense that fine, then let's do it based on hormones. All the transgender people are out. You're gone.
Yeah,
you're out.
you're gone by
have
now.
to, you have to be, and these individuals would have to box in the male category.
Right. Mom, can you
And
move your mic? Can you move your mic closer to you, because I'm hearing myself double? Thank you.
And unfortunately, it's a rare condition. And unfortunately, they're kind of in an odd spot
Right.
because they're not strong enough for the men and they're too strong for the women.
Yeah, exactly. Because you're gonna have that imbalance again, where you're completely right. You're in that middle point. So then we go back to the other argument of, do you have a transition only Olympics or sports category? And then the next question is, are there that many people that can fill those slots to make it interesting?
Well, unfortunately for these two individuals, they're not transition. They're not transgender.
Right.
They have a
They just
medical
have
condition.
Now, there we go. Now here's a question, and this is one I've been pondering. Ready, Mom? Does that so they're different. Some would say they're special. Does that mean that they can be in the Special Olympics?
No.
It is technically a disability, right?
Well,
I'm just saying.
in the sense that, well, they have a medical condition, but it's not. It doesn't fall under the Special Olympic category. You know what I
Right.
mean? That
I don't
they
know
have
what. Yeah, I'm sure
other-
there's.
right. There's different categories for that, and that would be unfair. Again, it's about making it fair. We can't have the same outcome. We shouldn't manage it so everybody gets a gold medal. It doesn't work that way. But everybody has to be able to compete on an somewhat even playing field. And that doesn't mean somebody can't work harder, be stronger, more talented. They have a right to do that. They can put in the extra effort and go further. But this other stuff is just, it's getting kind of ridiculous now. Now we're not even saying you don't have to be a male or female, but you have to have your hormones in check. Guess what? That's called being a male or a female. So we're kind of like getting around the argument. Okay, fine. If that's what you want to do, so nobody's insulted, I don't care, but they have to have limits. And by the way, these two women were not allowed to box in the international boxing. What was it, the IOB or whatever it's called?
Right. So
They
Russia.
didn't qualify.
Yeah, because they didn't pass the gender tests.
Right. So they weren't allowed to box it then. And, why is it okay in the Olympics? And I think they were not allowed to box in the World Championship because of it.
So yeah, we knew this gray line was potentially going to happen. I just didn't expect to see it in the next Olympics, right?
Yeah.
It's kind of, that's where I go, didn't we just talk about this in 2020 in Qatar?
Well, and the IOC, the Olympic
no,
Committee, they ruled ahead of time no transgenders.
Right.
That they would not allow transgenders to compete outside of their own their birth, I guess,
Right.
gender.
So that's why we're in that
So-
gray area.
Right. And then these individuals come up and everybody is sensitive on both sides of it. And it's unfortunate, but like I said, they know that they have an advantage over their competitors because of that one Y chromosome. And that's not really fair to the other individuals because unless you let them dope up with testosterone to even it, it's not fair.
Right. Yeah. I think you'd have to, I mean, I guess to counteract it, you would have to up your estrogen intake to get to the levels you'd have to lower their levels.
Yeah,
Then it's
exactly.
fair. Yeah. So to your point, I
Right.
wonder why they don't just do that, but.
Or they have to pick and choose if you're female, right? Within the, hey, it's the same thing about boxing in your weight, right?
Yeah.
You have to lose the weight. You can't box in certain different, there are
Good
limits.
point.
There are
Good
limits.
point.
So I agree in that sense, but it seems like we're really working hard to get around an issue here.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. But that was the only, that was really the only sports news that I had.
Well, I have a segue for this.
Go ahead. Let's see.
Dude looks like a lady. Aerosmith no longer tour.
What an interesting segue.
Okay?
Aerosmith finally retires. Now, truth be told, I thought they were done a while ago. I knew they were. I didn't know.
Groupies. They can always churn out, and they'll fill a stadium, these guys.
Oh, I'm sure. It's Aerosmith.
Steven Tyler, right? His throat, his voice. He had
He
a
can't
serious
do it.
issue. They thought he could come back, and they didn't realize how bad it is, and they're just like, we're done. Can't do it anymore.
They always catch this guy in pictures. Like TMZ takes pictures of him. He looks so bad every time. Like someone said, it's him with a hat on. Let's see if I can find it real fast. Tyler. No, Steven Tyler, right? Not Tyler Perry.
Tyler, yeah. Steven Tyler.
Tyler.
I liked in that article, they had pictures of them when they were young. He's always looked weird.
Yeah. This one, this picture.
What the hell? His face is like a caricature.
Yeah. Can you see that?
Yeah.
Someone said, Steven Tyler looks like your lesbian aunt. I was like, damn, that sucks. But yeah, they never have good pictures of him. But given that it is getting old, but I'm surprised Rolling Stone is still going.
No, please.
Those guys are like,
keep going. It's easy money.
but I think Mick Jagger can still sing and dance, right? Because he's still doing yoga, ma.
I know. Isn't he a great grandfather now?
Something like that. I don't know. It's disgusting.
Yeah, they got their following. I'm telling you. They'll fill a stadium. They'll make millions of dollars from one tour. They don't even have to do the grueling tour like Eras tour, like Taylor Swift's doing all over the world.
Swift, yeah.
And they'll still make money.
How much? I didn't even know they were all still alive. I just figured most of them were dead.
One was swapped out. I don't know if he died or
Okay.
I had to guess overdose, but who knows?
You're making assumptions. Oh, is that Tyler all the way on the left? Or yeah, Steven Tyler all the way on the left. That's got to be. Yeah.
I can't see it too well, but probably.
God. Yeah, interesting. Those were the days. But yeah, I saw that and I was like, I'm not surprised. I know. I think not Billy Joel. No, yeah, Billy Joel. His last thing, he finished. Him and Elton John are done too. They're on their farewell tours.
Oh, they've been on their farewell tours for years now.
It's a fair point. Yeah.
Billy Joel was selling out the Madison Square Garden like he did 3 shows a week.
Yeah, he was making crazy money all the time. Yeah, good for him.
He's trying to turn it into like Las Vegas. He made it a Las Vegas gig.
Yeah.
Usually the singers, they go out there, they live in Las Vegas for a couple years, and they do a show every night. Adele did it. Celine Dion did it. I think Faith Hill did it, but I don't think she went for that long.
Faith Hill. Oh. All right, I don't know how to transition out of that one. How about this one? Speaking of voices, right? Hold on, here we go, guys. Speaking of voices, how about the people that are losing their voice in the gaming?
Good transition.
That was a transition.
Yeah. That's a good one.
Insert coin. I've never heard of this. Yeah.
And we did because we talked about them. The Screen Actors Guild.
Yeah, I've never heard of insert coin though.
Well, they are striking, obviously, because they just finished that last strike with the movie. Remember we talked about how AI was an issue and Nicolas Cage was saying, I'm worried about it in the future. Well, now you've got the Activision, EA, Warner Brothers Games, Disney, Take-Two Interactive, and all the voiceover companies. So the SAG union is suing them because you can't use the AI voices, right? And that's a big business for a lot of people, that voiceover, for a lot of actors, and they make a lot of money that way. And a lot of no-name people make money that way. So they're very concerned about it, so they're striking until they get a better agreement. So they offered an interim agreement until the strike ends. What they'll do on I forget how they did it, a week-by-week basis, or they're going to let people record on a short basis, but they're at the table. I read something that said they've agreed to 25 of 26 things. But it's yet another issue of trying to control the AI world that's going to hit them. Yeah. And
I'm starting to, and again, I'm not being insensitive, but I'm trying not to be, but I feel like this is kind of the whole, everyone's job's going to get taken at some point, right? All these companies can just say, no, we're going to just do AI. I played a game. Someone actually sent me a game, and I did the record. I can't announce yet what game it is because it's in beta. But all the dialogue in it is in AI, and I didn't realize it. That's how good it is. Because I asked them, I was like, "Who did all the voice acting?" And they said it's all computer generated. And I was truly amazed. I was like, "Oh wow, we don't need people anymore." So I just feel like it's just inevitable that all these jobs are gonna end up being taken.
Right.
And again, this is gonna sound very insensitive, but I just feel like a lot of these people didn't prepare for a better path to go down. Like, to be a voice actor is one thing, and that's great. You're reading lines and stuff, but what did you have a plan B? And what would that plan B be?
Yeah.
Because it's not like this just hit us in the face yesterday, right? This is something that's been around and in talks for the second we saw GFX designs and special effects in
What's
movies.
interesting is now these individuals know what it's like to be a car mechanic working a line and a robot takes over your job.
Exactly, yeah.
It's gutted middle America, and they never cared. You know, the theater side, the East Coast and the West Coast. It was always like, oh, too bad, too bad. You know, get over it, as they were making their millions and millions of dollars.
Yeah.
And now all of a sudden it's creeping into their industry. See how you like it now.
Right. So it's kind of
the C level and the B level actors and actresses that they don't care if you're in the show or not.
It's just hard to. Again, this sounds so crappy, but I don't mean it this way. But it's hard to sympathize when this was the route that this was the path that we were going down for the last decade at a minimum, and you just assumed this wasn't going to happen, and now it's, oh, we're going to strike, and now everyone's affected. So it's a little harder for me to go. The acting one was made a little more sense, in the sense of you have an image, you have your lines that you have to learn, you have to act. So there's something you're actually doing. And a voice actor, I'm sure there's a lot of talent and stuff to it. And I'm sure there's some that are better than others, but how many voice actors are there, and how many do you need? Right? Especially now that you have a computer that can just make its own.
Well, yeah, and I kind of look at it like they don't need you at all.
Exactly.
So what will happen is they're going to demand that you must use X number of human beings, right?
Exactly.
And the gaming industry will not want to cave, just like a lot of other industries, but they're going to have to, because, you know, all the buddies in Hollywood know all the politicians who will pass laws that'll say, oh no, if you bring AI in, you must have a certain percentage of humans, which is another form of socialism. You know, that's not a capitalist society where the government intervenes and creates the market for these individuals because they contribute. So nobody does that for the automotive worker in Detroit. That's why Detroit is a hellhole, and the city has shut down and been shut down for decades. It's falling apart. Nobody has done that, you know, for a lot of other industries that we sent to overseas, or we replaced them with robots.
Yeah.
Where was the intervention for them when they struck? You know, so I agree with you in the sense that if they don't need them, make yourself valuable. If not, don't cry to me. You know, you knew it was coming, or if you didn't, you were delusional if you thought that you were untouchable because you're Hollywood.
Right. And that's, again, it's terrible for them to lose their job. I don't want people to think that we're being insensitive towards them losing a job, but it's just very hard because now everyone's affected by this, including us with our games and our TV shows and whatnot, and then say like, oh, why, like now we need the support of you guys so that we can keep making games and stuff.
Yeah.
Right. So yeah, with this one, it's tough because I want to sympathize, but you should have had if this was a kick in the face yesterday, like I think Intel just randomly kind of laid off 18,000 employees, that's a kick in the face. This was something that was a long time coming 10 years ago, and now you don't have a backup plan. And unless you're like maybe let's say, again, I know nothing about that industry, but let's say that you are in the top 1 percentile, you're probably not going to get fired because they need your voice for something. Whereas the other 99%, you can't complain. That's like people that want to be social media gurus and doesn't work out for them.
And yeah, I can be insensitive. And yeah, I cannot be sympathetic because all these people supported all these policies that for decades has been absolutely ruining middle America, destroying families who no longer have jobs. They didn't care. They had their jobs and they thought they were safe. So they would elect another person who would do more trade deals overseas, move more business overseas.
Well, you're
And
talking
now
more
they
so the
get-
companies, right? Like what these people in their chairs probably didn't make those decisions, right? Whatever
No,
company they
oh
work for.
no, they voted. As a bloc, Hollywood has supported these democratic socialist causes forever, and now it's hitting home with them. See how you like it when your job is lost.
Right,
to
you're
a
talking
robot.
Wait, but you're talking hold on, step back. You're talking Hollywood, right?
Yes.
I'm talking about
Yeah.
these people that are just voice actors at home. They don't have a boss or anything. You think that they voted for that?
No, they're all part of a union, Christopher. The
Okay. So the
SAG-AFTRA.
union's the one that makes that decision of how they're voting. Like these people are probably just people that have to get involved in the union because they want that job, right?
Yeah, but that's the whole. Brad Pitt is part of that union. Every actor has to be part of that union. If you work
Has
in
to
the
be.
acting industry,
But-
yes, it's a union. You're
Right, but-
required to be in it.
But that's like
So-
Brad Pitt though saying he's voting Republican but is in the union. Right? It goes against the union. That doesn't mean it's Brad Pitt. He just has to sign up for it.
No, but this is my point. They have collectively Hollywood.
There you
not
go.
included
That's what I mean.
SAG-AFTRA and all these other groups
Yes.
on the West Coast and the East Coast and the city too. That's all union theater people too. They have traditionally been pro. It's like the teachers union.
Yeah.
Okay.
But
They're
do you see what
pro-Democrat. They vote that
see what
way.
I
These
see what you did there
policies-
though? You have to be a little careful what you said because you basically just said all black people steal. That's not true. That's what you just compared there. I'm saying the individual people. Yes.
Right. I'm talking as a block. No, I don't mean individuals, but don't kid
There you
yourself.
go.
It is a guy in his living room
Absolutely.
who's doing it, but there could be one who's a Republican out of 500 who are Democrats who have supported these policies where they weren't crying over the auto worker. They didn't care when Bethlehem Steel closed down. They just kept voting for the same people. Yay, this is great. And now all of a sudden it's hitting home to them. They're being replaced by robots and the reality's creeping in. And you know what? Now they're getting a taste of it. This is what it's like.
Yeah. But again, it's tough because besides being a voice actor, you're not an actor. So your voice is how many millions and millions of voices are there that could be voice actors? I don't want to be disingenuous.
I agree, but
Yeah.
the gaming industry, I would say we don't need you at all.
Yeah, because it's all programmed anyway. But it's like, no offense to them, but from the amount of people that could be voice actors or voice actors there are, you're not really special unless you're like who's the one that plays Batman. Like, unless you're a very, what's the word?
There's a few recognizable voices.
Recognized,
like Darth
yeah.
Vader,
Yeah.
Jedi
Well, those
Master.
are actors. Like, take Toy Story. The most popular people are famous actors. Tom Hanks. I forget who plays, but I forget all the other ones. But it's been a long time since
Tim
I've seen-
Allen.
Thank you. So I can't name a famous voice actor. So if there were levels to the game, I couldn't tell you what the best voice actor's name is.
Well, there used to be famous people that are dead now, but for Disney, like you knew who Donald Duck was. That
Right.
was a
That's a
particular
different
voice
time.
actor. Right. You know from Family Guy. Those
Yeah,
voices.
Seth MacFarlane.
Kunis and Seth MacFarlane.
There you
Those
go. So let's say
individuals.
he's at the top of the top. Besides him and those who do South Park and whatnot, I don't know the names of background NPCs in Skyrim. I don't know their names. Yeah.
Right.
So again, if it doesn't really affect how I'm going to play my games if you gave me an AI that was good. So if you were going to change actors out, then that's a little different because now you have an actor that's not actually there or a fake actor. If someone else was Iron Man, I'm going to be pissed. Right? If it's not Robert Downey Jr., I'm going to be pissed. So
But with AI, you can make that voice.
exactly.
You can make it sound like Robert Downey Jr. And keep in mind, even probably more so the lower end or the B level, C level voiceover people, it's not even about losing their job because they know they're not. To some extent, they realize they're not losing their job because they always have
A backup
politics.
or another. Oh, really? See, I was going to say they probably have other jobs.
And not necessarily. They're more concerned because they're not going to get paid as much.
Mm-hmm.
Because now it's not as competitive a market because if they don't like your voice, they'll just AI it.
Yeah.
So now if you really need that job, you'll take it at whatever price you're going to get, right? Whatever they're willing to pay you. So it's an economic thing in that sense for them too. Whereas the auto worker didn't have a choice. We don't need you at all. We got a robot. So nobody's legislating, oh, you have to keep a certain number of people on the floor
Ready?
if you're going to automate
Little
your office.
ready? Here's a hot take, and I feel like it's not really a hot take. In music, I feel like auto-tune was the gateway to AI taking over, right? Because when you think about it, everyone used auto-tune, right?
Yep.
Except for maybe a couple people, but it kind of was. Let's say you just have auto-tune. If you go on TikTok, and I'm sure there's great, talented people on there, none of the talented people do concerts because their voices are just AI. Or sorry, auto-tune that they do themselves. So if you had an AI that was just doing the auto-tune, which you can definitely do now, we've had that for at least a decade now. This isn't much different, right? You're just scumming up the pool of the amount of people that can do this, right? Justin, I would love to ask Justin Bieber this question because if you don't know, he started on YouTube. He's like one of the greatest YouTube success stories.
I remember that.
People forget about that. He started on YouTube. Do you think that he would be as popular as he is today if he was on TikTok now? Like, if he started now, I don't think he would do it. But maybe he has the talent. Again, I think he would. But I just don't know how he would do it because so many people now are all auto-tune. All auto-tune because it's so easy to get access to. So I think AI is the same way.
Yeah, you also know he came at a time when YouTube was new.
Yeah. The
Now
times
there's
have
so
shifted.
many. Yeah, I mean, it was a new concept, so people were paying attention, and people like he would rise to the screen.
And he had the talent.
There's tons of Justin Biebers out there.
Exactly.
You may not even see them because it's just a massive platform now.
But he's like a talented singer, whereas I would say 90% of TikTok is not talent but auto-tune, and then you have that 10%, which is a pretty massive percent, that are just genuinely talented at that Justin Bieber level that will never be seen because of the scummy pool. Scummed up pool, I think is the word. The scummed up pool of people in there.
Terrible, scummed up. That's very
scummed
negative.
up. Is that the word? What
scum,
to like get mucky? To get mucky? Like there's too many people in the. It's oversaturated.
Oversaturated.
Yeah,
that's the word.
Yeah.
Scummed up's kind of negative.
Is it?
Well, scum is like the worst thing in the world. It's like the.
Oh, really? I thought I said scum in the sense of like when crap gets in a pool, like a pool.
This is why you need your mother here on the show.
I don't know, but that's what I mean. I feel like it's oversaturated in that regard, and I think AI is going to do the same thing eventually. That's why I think auto-tune is kind of the gateway drug to AI. Yeah. So that's just my thought on it, but. Speaking of politics and
irony, just on the side about the AI, similar to the robots. Sure, robots are great; they could build a car, but economically, people need jobs. So, I equate AI to when the robots came in and took over the production line and eliminated human beings. We're at this, and that was supposed to be the be-all, the most wonderful thing. You won't make a mistake, and nobody gets injured on the line. And now we've got AI coming in doing the same thing. That's another reason why, for somebody from my generation, we saw how revolutionary technology gutted things, not for the better, right? And now I see AI come in. To your point, there's a lot of positives, but here's an entire industry that could be completely ruined, gone by AI. They may never need voices again in the gaming world, let's say. And I do agree with you. I don't want people to see. I don't want to see them lose their jobs. We need humans working. We need them, generating the economy, but I don't like it when they mandate it. When we make policies.
I saw a thing, and I don't know how true it was. It was kind of like a quick headline. Tesla is making I don't want to call it an engine because Teslas aren't engines, but the mechanical parts that make I'm going to call it it's not a transmission. I don't know what it is, but it's like the engine that actually moves all the parts in the Tesla that the battery powers. They can build a whole one of those in 5 seconds using a machine. So one is made every 5 seconds. That is insane.
And then it kills people with the auto drive.
Yeah, exactly. But it's not an engine. It's whatever the battery powers to make everything work. It's pretty big. It's like the size of an engine, but I was like, whoa, I think it's considered the transmission.
Yeah.
But yeah. Speaking of politics, let's get right into the political stuff today because we got a lot. I don't even know how you want to start this one.
Which one is it?
Oh, we got a bunch. I mean, Trump has proposed this one. Okay, I'm curious. I want your take on this one because
you did the debate one, right?
Yeah, but this one was the one that you sent me, which was the crypto stuff. So.
Oh, I forgot that.
Yeah.
Oh, you know what? I didn't send you that for the podcast. But it's okay. I don't care. I'm not prepared for it. Yeah.
Kenny and I talked about this. So For those of you that don't know, Donald Trump has proposed a massive radical plan to pay off $35 trillion in U.S. national debt. So this week, he, hold on, my camera's all mashugga now. 1 second. It's got to refocus. There we go. Sorry about that. He decided that he was going to kind of endorse crypto and say that crypto was going to help us pay off the $35 trillion. Maybe you have more information on this one, but I don't like this. I'm going to be honest with you. As someone who is kind of, I think that a lot of these cryptos, especially the OTC market of cryptos, which is like the shit coins and stuff, I think they're just complete scams. Truthfully, I think they're used for money laundering. I think they're used for just stupid publicity stunts to bump up a coin that's based on nothing. So I want your thoughts on this, because I'm not very anti-crypto, but I'm not a fan of this plan. Like when I heard crypto, I thought that he was just going to go ahead. I'm just going to grab water.
Well, I think I didn't read this article. I think I just sent it to you guys because what I found interesting was more about, not about the crypto itself, but when he made this announcement, he went to a crypto or Coinbase presentation rally. He was invited to be there and spoke about how he's going to really push the crypto market and Coinbase. And he really feels that should be a main currency driver, if you will, in the future. And the next day, literally the next day, David Marcus, who was one of the founding people involved in PayPal and money things, he's very big into crypto and Coinbase now, all of a sudden said he's supporting Donald Trump. And he wrote a very long article and checked off a lot of boxes that, not just about the crypto, a lot of policies from the Democrats and whatnot. And I just thought that was so funny. Like literally the day after Donald Trump gives this speech at crypto, he comes out with this comment. And he's a very influential individual in the tech area. So it's an important endorsement that this previous Democrat voter is saying, no, I'm supporting Donald Trump. So it hit a nerve, or I should say it the opposite way. It was a positive for him to give this speech and to recognize Coinbase. What I will say is I do not like the direction that currency is going in with the United States. And we know we have a serious problem in this country. Well, you and I know it, or certain people paying attention know it. A lot of Democrats know it, but they're in denial about it. We cannot sustain the debt that we have. We cannot keep going the way we're going with the printing of money and currency and this idea of, well, that's okay. We're going to switch over to digital and we're going to monitor your accounts and we're going to know where your money goes. That's not a good way. That is why I'm not necessarily against crypto, because I like the anonymity of crypto. I like the ability to not have a government. And I'm not saying Democrats, Republicans. It could be a central unit in the EU. I don't want them having access to my accounts, to knowing what I transact in, to getting involved in my personal business. And if we can avoid that through crypto and through Coinbase, I guess is another terminology, I'm not against it. And I almost think it's an interesting thread, if you will, from a potential future president to let the world know that, no, we're not going to let you manipulate currency. We will have another option.
Here's my problem with this, right? Whether it's Trump or Biden or Obama, I don't care who. When you start doing something like this, that means that you're going to have to put some level of government regulations on it. And unfortunately, the whole point of crypto was that it was going to be completely hands-off, no regulations whatsoever, and now it's going to have to turn into something regulated. So now you're going to have this weird offset of crypto where one part is regulated, one part is not. And I think that's going to cause a lot more problems than fix problems. And then now you have people who are anti-crypto, and I shouldn't say anti, but the ones that are speculative about crypto, saying these certain things. One thing that you and I talked about when we first started the podcast and crypto was growing, all these people like Mark Cuban who say, oh, in 4 months, crypto is going to go to this, or in 5 months, crypto is going to go down to this. They're always wrong. So now we have politicians who can now regulate these things because we are going to use it to pay off the debt. Now we have them making these predictions. And now all of a sudden Nancy Pelosi's saying, hey, this one's going up to the roof. Now everyone's going to put their hard-earned money into this. She does insider trading, which is allowed in that because there's no regulations. So now we're just giving the power kind of back to the politicians to do what they want with it, unless you can get to the side of the deregulated crypto. Because I think what's going to end up happening is we're going to have two separate forms of crypto now. You're going to have a part and then you're going to have the gray line.
This was always going to be a problem with crypto because as you recall, it started, some people were involved in it. Nobody understood it. It was very confusing. The federal government never said anything. And then all of a sudden you start to see in your 1040 form, are you involved in any digital currency? Check this box. Right. Okay. So they were going to get involved no matter what, whatever that digital or whatever that currency is. And before you go all crazy, remember there's such a thing like gold and silver and commodities. So we do have other markets. Are they regulated? Yes and no. I mean, they're very, it's literally tied to gold. It's tangible.
It's tangible.
You can see it. There's a certain amount of it. But it is also used by other currency traders to offset things. Right. You know what I mean? So it's not like this is the first time we've had other types of currency out there, right?
Right.
I see what you're saying, and I just personally feel I'm more interested in it now because it's an alternative. Maybe it's going to get to where we are now, but at least it's a little bit behind, and you got some time to stay somewhat anonymous until we turn into what the freak show we have now, where, Bank of America is giving out personal information because you might have been at the January 6th rally.
Yeah.
That's obscene to me.
Yeah.
That's anti-American, let alone the fact that, they being our governments, many, and I won't put it on just this current administration, it's gone on for way too long. They have driven our economy into the ground. They have put us at such risk. We are choking on debt that people can't even wrap their head around the level of debt and the money that's being printed. So I'm not against another currency. And you're right. We knew this. They have to regulate it. You can't just let crypto go.
Here's a question, Mom. So yesterday, I think it was, because you're going to have to explain this to me. I didn't understand. I guess the stock market crashed and then they wiped like $2 trillion of stocks. How does that work?
I didn't hear that.
Okay, so
I don't know.
Hold on, chat. We're gonna take a break here, or not chat. Stream. We're gonna recording. Whatever I'm saying.
Were they buying the stocks all back? All the companies were buying all the stocks back and taking them out of the market?
I couldn't tell, but the meme I saw was everything's in the red, and they're talking about wiping, and it's Kamala going, "We did it, Joe. We did it, Joe." Oh Jesus. Man. Oh, Magnificent Seven wipe. Okay, U.S. stocks. So. Maybe this is how it was written. It says, Business Insider says, here, let me change it so that you guys can see it. Oh, it's not letting me show it. What's going on? U.S. stocks tumble Magnificent Seven wipe out $570 billion as mega tech earnings disappoint, spikes driving markets on Wednesday. So this is July 24th.
Oh, meaning, so $570 billion worth of value was lost in a day.
How do I get back?
So when the market goes down, right, a stock loses value. An entire sector lost. You said $570 billion.
Right. So but I saw something about wiping.
Stocks out there were valued, in one day, just with that, with the lowering or crash. They called it a crash, but it's not a real total crash. The market going down that much represents a certain value, and it was one day it was worth $570 billion more than the next day. So that's what happens when you have even just a slight downturn. And when you have it in industries, a whole industry could take a hit.
Yeah. I guess I can't find it, but yeah. But the crypto stuff, again, it just scares me because now I think of how many stores now won't even accept cash. It's just credit. There's a lot.
Well, yes, but I also disagree. You know how many stores now say, I'll give you a discount if you pay me in cash? Every restaurant now, if you pay cash, you won't get charged the fee. Hairdressers pay cash, or you get charged 5%.
Well, I mean the big stores, like shopping stores, like in the sense of groceries, the lively things like Harris Teeter, they'll only accept cash in like certain ones,
At
but
the
they're starting to move.
Yeah.
They're starting to move away from that. A lot of them are just doing self checkouts now.
Well, but you have to, yeah, but you have to
Walmart.
understand too. That's your generation. Everything's Apple Pay, Wallet, X Money, all this stuff.
Right.
Our generation, it was cash. You know, you did everything in cash. Then credit cards came in when I was in my 20s. They took off when we were in our 30s, and then everybody had a credit card. So it's more. It's not just about getting rid of cash. It's catering to what you guys want. And your generation, I'm saying the younger generation, you guys don't want cash.
Right.
You don't want to go to ATM.
Well, you don't
You
want
want
cash.
digital.
Yeah, you don't have cash until you have $100,000 in the bank, and then one day you go to hit the credit thing, and it goes, "Oh, you only had 50,000." Oh, wait,
Right.
what?
Right.
Yeah,
That's why I say I'm not a big fan of digital. And
I'm not
they
either.
can control your accounts. They can go in and say, you know what? We don't like your attitude. We're taking $10,000 from you. People think that's absurd. That's what they do in communist
Countries, yeah.
That's that credit score. That's why, and here's what all comes together. Everybody was so up in arms about when the vaccine and they wanted a digital card and everything. No,
Yep.
no, no. That's the start of a credit thing. And you didn't get vaccinated, therefore we're shutting your credit card down or we're shutting your bank account down. That is what they do to force people. That is as anti-American as you can get. You can't do we do not do that here. And they're trying. So I'm with you. I'm okay with Bitcoin. I'm okay with cryptocurrency. The more they keep pushing this digital currency where the government controls it, the more I want the opposite, because I know that's going to be a bad thing for people.
Yeah, absolutely. But that was my take on that one. I'm not a big fan of using. I get it. It's kind of, there's so much money in crypto right now that it is not a bad idea to do. But I think that's the not thinking in the long run, 50 years down the line, what could this be? That's what scares me.
Never think in the long run. That's why we're in the shit show we are financially.
Fair point.
That's why, it's like projected to be $127 trillion in debt for Social Security, Medicaid, Medicare, and all that stuff that everybody pays into, including you with every paycheck. It's mind-boggling. And that's what generations, it's the ultimate Ponzi scheme, right?
Right.
You pay into something, you're going to get it down the road. But it's growing massively in debt that they can't finance it. So, they've known this stuff for a long time. Don't let them act like all of a sudden we're panicking, we got to do something. Nobody wants to run as a politician on, I'm going to cut.
Right.
People don't want to hear that.
Speaking of big tech, did you see this one? Trump says Zuckerberg called him after assassination attempt and told him he wouldn't endorse a Democrat. Now, I can already tell by my mom's facial expression what her opinion is on this one.
First of all, I could care less about Mark Zuckerberg. I still think he needs to be investigated for what he did with his organization in 2020, where he specifically broke election rules by catering to registering Democrats only and running these programs in Democratic areas. Having said that, it's very possible that Zuckerberg has a sense that the tide has turned, and even with Kamala Harris, Donald Trump will most likely be the next president. And he's trying to get on his good side.
Exactly. So that's what I said. I said that's what my thought was. This guy's going to be president again. We banned him from Facebook. I don't know if you saw this week, but Facebook. Yeah, did you see what they just got in trouble for? They were taking down pictures of the assassination attempt, right? Google's doing the same thing, right? You can't find a single thing on the assassination right now. It's wild.
No, I saw it when I was up at your grandmother's. If you Google Trump's assassination, something comes up with Kamala Harris on Google.
How funny is that? So Rogan was just talking about this too. Anything that you type in Trump, it says Kamala versus Trump, or it brings up articles about Kamala. So, Hey guys, I wonder if there's an agenda or something.
And there's your algorithm. Right?
Yeah, there's your algorithm.
Bullshit algorithm. I'm telling you, these algorithms are total bullshit.
Yeah, especially when it comes to politics, it just goes to show.
Absolutely.
So
absolutely.
Yeah, I mean that's just obvious. But I think to your point, this is him realizing.
Zuckerberg also made a point of saying he's not going to endorse anybody this time. And he hasn't in the past. No, you just created an entire Democratic machine to register Democratic voters in the last election, which is totally against the rules of election financing. And really, it should have been investigated. They started doing it. I don't know what happened with it. But having said that, he said he's not going to vote for Democrat, but he didn't say he's going to vote for Republican.
Yeah, but I think this is, hey, Trump's going to win, so I have to get on his good side because of all the shit we've done to him. So this was his opportunity to kind of weasel his way in. I like to think that Trump's a little too smart for that, but I don't know. I think he likes having allies a little too much, you know?
I think Trump is one who forgives, but he'll never forget. He won't forget.
Yeah, that's a great way of putting it. But yeah, very interesting. I think, did you see, because we were talking about with election fraud and stuff, did you see what happened in Venezuela?
Oh, jeez, of course.
That's an ugly one. I don't want to go too deep into it because we don't have the article, but I mean, election fraud this is what happens when you do what you most likely or potentially did here in America on a grand scale. That's and right. You make it so many points that it's just too obvious.
Yeah.
That's what it was. So I think I mean, I know some Democrats that agree with me because I talked to them about it, and they said, yeah, if Kamala Harris wins at this point, I mean, even I might be on the front of that charge. Yeah. And that was coming from my friend who's very Democratic. So
what many of us witnessed in 2020, if any court bothered to look at the evidence and question it, what you saw in 2020 is what these countries all around the world, especially the Venezuelas, the these low-end borderline communists, this is what they always do. They stuff the ballot box, they manipulate the election. Well, we did it here, some of us believe, and you see the outcome. You get basically a shit show. And you have people starting to say, what happened? I just read something this morning. Literally, the math does not add up. Because somebody said, 2020 election, whatever. I'm going to look at the census. Let me approach it from that way. There isn't physically enough people to have voted in 2020 for one person to get 80 women votes and the other person to get 76, and then a certain percentage other. Right?
Well, the question was...
The math isn't even there.
Right.
But back to Venezuela. Now they've taken it into overdrive.
The math wasn't even close.
But hold on. This could be our 2024. And what I find interesting is all the people saying, how dare the Biden administration question what they're doing in Venezuela, when that's exactly the stuff that went on here, maybe not at the scale that they did, that went on here, and they dared to say, how dare you question it, right?
Right. But it's just funny because they're going back and it's talking about Bernie Sanders and how he, back in, I think it was 2000, he was like, we should be more like Venezuela. Like, he endorsed Venezuela. And now you look at it and it's like, hey, Bernie, what the hell were you thinking as you pushing your socialism? So I think people are kind of looking at Venezuela right now and going, oh, this is what happens if you go down that route.
Well, last time. Remember, he imprisoned the other candidate, the young guy. I can't think of his name. This is what happened. They stuffed at the last minute. He's decided, no, I'm going to win this. And he became the person over there. Now, some people did vote for him. I'm not saying nobody did, but he came in, took it over, and now it's basically a socialist country.
What I do like, though, kind of back to today, is the people know it. There's no question anymore. Even police are going, hey, we're dropping our badges. Like, it's over for that guy. And I'm hoping that this is a massive swing for Venezuela. Like, maybe get that country out of some of the shithole that they're in. It's going to take a long time, no question about it, but... I mean, their dollar is worth nothing.
Be as wealthy as us for a while.
Then they went to socialism.
And by the time Maduro got in, I forget who the clown was before him, but they had no medicines in the hospitals.
Nothing.
The hospitals look like a third world country.
Remember, newspaper was worth more than the money in their hands.
Inflation was through the roof, right? And what do they have? They have oil, right? So it hasn't gotten better on this guy as far as I know. I think inflation's still high. But they had an election. Supposedly it was Democratic. They didn't like it. The other individual, it was ridiculous. It was like 61 to 37%.
Yes, it wasn't even close. Like, flubbing the numbers a little bit when they're close, that would make sense if I was trying to cheat the election. But when you have, so they recounted the votes, Mom. Like, certain sectors of Venezuela, I don't know how Venezuela really works. Certain sectors, 70% to 30% for the guy that won. Right? So 50% you lied about. That's insane. A 50% difference, I should say. So,
but this is what happens, and don't kid yourself. It will probably happen here. If this continues, there will be an uprising. I'm not calling for it. I'm not a terrorist. I'm just saying you can't keep screwing with people from an election perspective and reinstalling when you claim to be somewhat of a democracy. Even eventually, these communist countries, the people rise up if they can't eat, if they
Yeah,
don't have
absolutely.
money. And here we are. We're spoiled because it's America. But there are people in this country that can't pay their bills. They can't eat. And they're the middle of America, and they're coming after more people, middle income people, and we're not going to tolerate it forever. You can't keep installing presidents, and they do such a crappy job. We're in 3 wars now. In a matter of 3 years, we're now in 3 wars, and we have ridiculous inflation, and our gas prices have tripled. I mean, it's just mind-boggling. And you think people are gonna, yay, I'm gonna vote for it again, yay?
Yeah, it's wild. Well, speaking of voting and who's gonna beat Trump. Now, I love how I just realized Kamala Harris is like the first one to, right? She's the DNC candidate, got voted in with no votes. Did you see this?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
They didn't do a vote or anything. She's just automatically by default the Democratic.
Well, they passed their delegates. There's
That's
a
what I
process.
thought, yeah.
They pledged their delegates to her. The whole thing is a ridiculous process. And it's for me, it's comedic. The Democratic Party is just, if we had a real press in this country, I don't think the Democratic Party would exist anymore. It's such a shit show. I mean, it's just ridiculous what they did this summer, especially the hypocrisy of what they claim with our last election, and they just go in and just reinstall somebody. It's unbelievable.
Well, my favorite part about all this, and this is if you haven't figured this out, this is how you know, like, you're just not, you shouldn't be voting. When was the last time you saw anything on Biden? He's gone now, right? Nothing. It's just Harris, right? Did you see his big? The last thing I saw was his big struggle 2 nights ago, getting back on the plane that the Russians just got off of. Did you see that? He's just out into the. It's tough to watch.
Joe Rogan is pushing the. He doesn't think it's really Joe Biden. He's taller. He moves better.
I don't know if you wanted to talk about that, but yeah, those pictures are wild. He just gained like a foot when he got out of the COVID thing, but he hasn't said anything.
There was some incident in Nevada at that medical center right before the COVID announcement where he could barely, if it was him, he could barely get into the limo. They have like a shot through the glass of him, blah, blah, blah. I don't know. It's just amazing that as a nation, it's an embarrassment, not to us citizens, but to our government, that I'm actually considering a woman who stood next to this man for 3 years, said he was perfectly fine, able, and capable, and he has the gall to run and wants our trust and our respect to be the next president of the United States.
But I don't even, again, that's one thing. Where is he? He hasn't said anything. All of a sudden, everything is Kamala. There's no Biden anymore. He's gone.
I don't think he's capable of being out there.
Right.
And it's to their advantage because you want the new candidate
to be the front, obviously. But nothing. We're seeing nothing. And Joe Rogan had another great point that went viral, right? Remember, as of like 6 months ago, she had the worst polling of any vice president of all time. Less than Hillary, who has one of the sketchiest backgrounds in American history, and now she's tirade around as a hero.
No. Honestly, all Trump has to do is say, "Tell me one thing you've accomplished."
I know, yeah. That's why.
Not even as president in your entire career since Attorney General in Washington D.C. You don't have to tell me about your call girl days. Tell me one thing, because I'm sitting here. I looked at her Senate record. I can't, not one of those things would she want to tout on the national stage.
Exactly.
So she can't even talk about the few things she did. She's done nothing as vice president, and now, is she really going to get up there and say, I was never the border czar?
I know. I was never.
Half of the people interviewing them called her the border czar?
Yeah. But that's why it leads into this article. So, right, a couple days ago, she was like, hey, Trump, I'll debate you anywhere, anytime. He says, well, I can't do this date. Let's do this date. She goes, no, she didn't expect him to actually respond. So, Mom, I mean,
actually, he's the one who's switching it.
Yeah, he's just switching it a couple days.
Right. They were supposed to have it on the 10th, I believe.
Yeah, now it's the 12th.
On ABC, one of the stations that Trump is in litigations with. So right there, can you blame the guy?
Yeah.
That he doesn't want to have them do it? Why he's pushing Fox is beyond me. I get it. A lot of his people watch Fox, but
the older
Fox
generation.
hasn't done him any favors either. But okay, it makes sense to go to that. and he's trying to switch the days. So she's using that to her advantage to say, "Oh, he's afraid." Where in God's name do you equate? I wanted to debate you earlier to being
He's
afraid.
and now she's saying no. But mom, so I don't know if she's been getting so many questions of like, how do you plan on doing the tax cuts and stuff? And she's like, I don't know. I don't know yet. And then the whole we're gonna do a gun seizure like Australia did, where we're gonna go house to house based on a list and take guns. Did you see this? It's like, are you stupid? Are you trying to win or are you trying to lose?
Yeah.
Right? You've got nothing.
She's stupid. I'm sorry. I mean,
I truly do believe that at this point. I thought she was just kind of not answering stuff because she wasn't sure on politics. This lady's actually an idiot.
Yeah.
I'll say that to her face.
No, she's an idiot since the day she was in the Senate. She is totally a DEI, and everyone gets up, and that's the only reason why she called him a racist when they were
and a pedophile. She called it, yeah.
when they were debating together.
But hold on, JD Vance didn't say great things about Trump either when he first started. So again, I think that's politics, unfortunately.
But JD Vance wasn't in a primary where the people didn't even vote for him.
Right.
They kicked him out. So I don't mind if somebody like a JD Vance. I wouldn't even mind if Kamala had a turnabout and said, "Hey, this guy is great." The whole world now knows the man is mentally deficient. Yeah. Even the people that asked him to no longer be the candidate and he withdrew. Where's the questions about how you stood next to him but you took an oath.
Yeah.
And you said this, and now you want me to trust you?
Yeah, it's ridiculous.
And you think you're going to run this country? She can't run the country. She's the guy who was doing it longer, who was arguably as stupid as she was, who's been around longer. He couldn't do it.
Yeah, but my favorite part is how she's trying to cater to everyone. Did you see her change her accent during the she changes her accent purposely and all this stuff, as we just talked about. But did you see, and it's one of my articles, but I guess we don't have to pull it up. She had Meg the Stallion.
I saw that.
Mom, so for everyone who saw the picture, all these people show up for this concert, right, that they're doing. So they take a picture. They're like, look at all the people that show up for this rally. Trump doesn't have a chance. After the concert ended, before Kamala even gets up there, more than half the stadium left. Right. So then they didn't take pictures, of course, but they show videos of people, like insiders, who are just watching all the people walk out after the walk, because it's a free Meg the Stallion concert.
I sent you one just today. She was at some school to give some speech or rally. 300 people showed up.
Yeah, I was going to bring that one. Yeah.
It was 3,500 people. Now, we don't have to talk about it. I just had to bring that because you brought the debate question up. Let me remind you, we laugh now. This is exactly what happened in 2020, right? Trump was doing rallies every night, right? The week before the election, 50,000 people. Biden was in his basement, right? So don't kid yourself. There's still no reason to believe that the woman that has no accomplishments, is unable to answer a single question on policy, had no real respect before today in terms of her own party. She could still win it because we could be Venezuela.
Yeah, could be. But what I'm trying to say is, or what I'm kind of boiling this down to is, what does she have to run on? What's her campaign? Her whole campaign's just, I'm not Trump. She's got nothing else.
No. Their campaign is going to be, he wants to take away your right to choose.
Oh, you think that's going to be it? Okay. It's not going to work. They could throw whatever they want out there, but...
Oh, don't be surprised. It won in 2022. That was supposed to be a red wave, and out of the blue, they pulled out the old abortion card. Everybody got nervous and voted for the Democrats.
See, my only qualm with that, and why I think it's very different, is Joe Biden maybe was close in the numbers. He wasn't winning, but at least you could flub those. She is so disliked as of 2 months ago that there's no way you can pull off a stunt like that. You could. It's not going to work because it's too obvious. I just don't think... I think if you were to throw Joe Biden, like my Democratic friend said, you could throw Joe Biden back in there, I think he would do better. And I think that's true. I really do.
We do not know that Joe Biden was so close. You can't trust any of those polls back then. After that election, when one candidate was drawing 50,000 people a night, and remember, The Republican registration, especially in the swing states, was ridiculously higher than Democrats. But yet they all decided to vote for Joe Biden.
Sure, but Joe Biden still had a much higher percent chance than Kamala Harris just in likability polls, right? Do you remember? He was like 50% maybe. More realistically, it was like 46%. She was barely breaking 13%.
Yeah,
Hillary was at 22 or something like that.
Right.
It doesn't make sense.
Nobody likes Kamala, and nobody respects Kamala.
Right.
But it's the Democratic Party.
You're voting because it's not Trump.
But to their credit, and I don't think it's right, but it works for them. To their credit, they rally behind their candidate, whether you like her or him or not. Republicans don't always do that. They should. Like even Ann Coulter, who was so angry with Trump, even she's saying, "Wake up, people! This is the ticket." You know, J.D. Vance was a good pick. We got to go with it because we can't keep going with what we have.
That's what I want to ask you. Do you think J.D. Vance is a good pick?
I do.
Okay. I can see there's a little hesitation there.
Well, I have issues with his wife, believe it or not, but I think
okay, you gotta kind of explain that one because people are gonna think, oh, is that because she's just an immigrant, right?
People know me. I'm not.
Yeah, but you have to, Mom. Yeah, remember these
not
get posted to people that don't watch us. So
right, she's not an immigrant. She's an American citizen, born here.
Yeah.
So no, that's not it at all. And I don't even have a problem with. As a matter of fact, I think it's a good thing that he didn't like Trump. I think it's a good thing he spoke out against Trump. I think it's great that Trump said, "I'm okay with that." That's as American as you can get, especially when he says, "I was wrong about the policies with Trump." Right? So J.D. Vance had a little bit of that derangement syndrome, or those TDS people who might be on the fence now. They could see somebody who was willing to say, you know what? Yeah, I did believe those things and I was wrong. And this is why I think he's going to help us for the future. I think that's a good thing. Kamala can't do that.
Yeah.
There's no way, you know. But having said that, J.D. Vance represents the group that Donald Trump lost and the Democrats have forgotten. The middle America white male. That used to be the bread and butter of not necessarily the Republican Party, but as you've heard many people say, Trump represents more of the traditional Democratic platform.
Right.
From the 1960s, 70s, 80s, even the 90s, than they do now. And because he catered so much to because he really wanted to bring more people into the Republican Party, catered to the Hispanics, he tried to cater to the blacks, he put a lot of money into black institutions. Nothing wrong with that. But in the meanwhile, back to what we were saying before, the auto worker was losing his job in Middle America, right?
Right.
Families were being torn apart in Middle America. They had no income. Both people had to work and there was no money. And they were forgotten. So by picking somebody, and if you haven't seen Hillbilly Elegy, you really should. By picking somebody like a J.D. Vance, he came from poor. I mean, he came from a poor area. And he pulled himself up by the bootstraps, which I'm sure AOC, our head's exploding over that. And he got an education. He took advantage of the public school system for what it was. And he was bright. And he got into Yale and perfect scores and blah, blah, blah. So he's a success story from somebody in that area. And he represents for a whole pocket of voters that Trump did not, I don't want to say cater to, but he didn't focus on them enough. And that's another reason why Biden did get some votes, because they were like, Trump left us behind.
Gotcha. All right. I think we've talked enough about politics. Let's end it on a fun one. I saw this one that you sent me. I didn't get to read it, but the engineers found evidence of hydraulics in an ancient pyramid, solving a 4,500-year-old mystery.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Bill Grutta? I thought you were going to talk about it, but
I didn't even get the chance to read it. I have heard this. I've heard this theory before, but
right.
As I told you, I've been watching
Y-Files. The mystery continues because this was what Popular Mechanics, I think, and they were looking at the area, the terrain. They feel that the 4,500 years ago, they might have used some form of hydraulics. So what were they basing it on? This was the steppe period of Djosen. It's in Saqqara, Egypt. So I guess it's one of the 7 what they call monumental pyramids, the biggies, right? From about 4,500 years ago. A research team went in. They looked at the interior architecture and at the support. They felt like, there could have been some sort of hydraulic mechanism in here. What did they use? They used water, and they would sort of make it like a volcano to push these blocks up and
Yeah,
into
this is
place.
what it looks like. So I want to see if I can find a better picture of it. But this is kind of the concept. So, all right, you would get water through the bottom, right? They made these tunnels, and then they would push the stones across here into the kind of like a pit of water, and the
Yeah,
water would build pressure and go up to the top.
right. So they
Even
used them.
still, that's
They had
tough.
like these massive watersheds. Maybe that's what that thing is over at number one. They had these massive watersheds nearby. They would have a check dam that trapped sediment and water. Around that area, they had like a moat type of layout that was a possible lake that would push it kind of west of Dosha. It would push the water, and that would be their source for moving everything. So the Nile tributary, they would use that, create a dam. The dam then fed this lake. That lake then fed a moat, and that moved the materials and created the hydraulics for the you know, what they
Yeah,
needed to lift
they had
the
an air
stone from
dome, it
the place.
looks like. Wow. It
They
would
also
make
saw some
sense.
structures that were similar to what would be a modern day treatment plant. But when you look, I looked at some of the comments from the people after the article, and I mean the mystery continues. They're like, yeah, still maybe, but that's really a stretch. You're basing it on a little trench in the ground. You thought that was a
I
moat.
just don't know how you would get that much water pressure to get a stone that heavy up that high. That's
I
where you could do
agree.
that for the first part, maybe, but to get
Right.
it that high doesn't make sense. That would be way too
Yeah, there's
hard.
got to be more force involved because it's just those stones are heavy.
Unless
How
they
do you
were
do
heating it, maybe you can get like a. No, there's no way they didn't have the ability to do that. They thought they could make a reservoir that way. Granite plug. How do you get the plug out? Grotto, well shaft. Yeah, I don't know. That, yeah, maybe. So
It's
this
a
is.
theory, and there's still people at the bottom who say, "Nah, had to been aliens."
Oh, I was.
Like the
Yeah, no.
comment.
Okay, this one kind of
Had
makes a
to-
little more sense. So what they did was they made a fire at the top, sort of that would, because I knew some kind of level of heat had to be involved to maybe press it out. So they filled the vacuum seal to make essentially an explosion to fire the water up. But
Right.
I don't know if I still don't think you can get enough power from just a big fire to get stones that high. You'd have to make a geyser, and you can't do that easily.
Yeah, to get that much force for something that heavy.
Yeah.
Because it's not buoyed at all. It's not hollow at all. This is
Yeah,
solid rock.
I just don't see how they would be able to get compressed air either, in the sense of you can make these little. You'd have to make a giant area for that. You couldn't have just a little spot. We're talking, I think we're severely underestimating how heavy these stones were.
Yeah, and as we know from your other podcast, they were perfectly shaped. How do you do that?
Yeah, it's not
How do you
possible.
have perfect in those days, perfectly shaped and
I don't know.
there's something more here that we're missing out.
Yeah, I don't know. I haven't watched
But
the
it's
Y
in
files on that one
theory.
yet. I like the Y files. I
Jeez.
got Mr. Greta on the Y files. I'm making him watch them all. He's
Oh,
like,
really?
yeah, he likes them. So yeah, strongly recommend that channel if you want to go down the
And
conspiracy road.
did he tell you about his friend? What's her name? Or something? She still believes that Elvis is alive. John Kennedy Sr. is still alive. She's a total conspiracy person.
Damn. Okay,
Yeah,
well, that's tough.
yeah,
That's a different level. We're not at that point yet, but I am working on my tinfoil hat. I have it wrapped
yeah.
over there. Yeah. All right, Mom. That's really all I had to talk about today.
Yeah, we covered a lot.
Yeah, we really did. Oh, okay. I mean, I don't know how this election's going to go, Mother. I really don't. I'm scared for November. I'm scared to
Don't
see
be
how it goes.
scared. Don't be scared.
I think you've scared everyone into, I don't know if I want to go out and vote.
No, you always have to vote.
Yes, I agree.
If you don't vote, you can't complain.
I agree.
It's one of these things. You have a right to complain if you think everybody always has a right to complain. It's America. But you can't complain if you don't vote. And It's the one thing you do as a citizen. It's your only hope. And we need everybody to vote because it could be negated by people who are not even from this country.
Yeah.
If for nothing else, I hope the younger generation is starting to see, if you don't think it's corrupt, how it could get corrupt.
Exactly. The potential for corruption.
Right. And I think the corruption's here. I think we've been witnessing it for a long time. We used to see it in different cities, like the main cities. Now we saw it on a massive scale. And it's easier to believe it when you see just how bad it is, which I think that's one of the things I find so interesting is you got to trust the American people because they knew better. They had, in my opinion, they had to steal it to put somebody in that, look what's happened. Exactly what the American people didn't
Three
want.
wars.
3 wars, incredible inflation, divisiveness.
But it's Trump's fault. Yeah, he hasn't been in for 4 years, but it's his fault.
Right. And any sort of unity that we had, and I do still believe that I think a lot of the race issues are ginned up. I think, especially your generation, you guys don't see skin color, which is a great thing. It doesn't matter. And it works both ways. I mean, I think that's one of the worst things that has come. This is one of the negative things in our country. It's not just slavery. Obviously, that was horrific. The fact that they keep this race thing going just for political reasons, and it's not helping either community. It's certainly not helping blacks in this country. And I really think more of them have started to open their eyes to the fact that, what am I getting for the same party I keep voting for, right?
Right.
And I think they took it too far, as Rush Limbaugh always said. They took it too far with these last 4 years now, and now hopefully the pendulum swings back.
Yeah. That's all we can hope for. But all right, we'll end it there. We have a lot of videos that I posted. So last week, I do have to get I have to convince Michael to freaking start posting some of the podcast clips because, my goodness, it's too much. But so we posted, okay, so we had 4 videos. We had 2 Kristalla videos. We had Only Up. That was the other one. And then I recorded a bunch of speed runs, so those will start coming out on Sunday. So you'll see one by the time this comes out. And yeah, that's pretty much it. So social media down below, promo codes down below, stream links down below, Discord down below. Subscribe to the podcast clips channel. And that's pretty much it. So we'll see you guys next week.
Yep.